Hello and welcome to Double Shot. Comes your way at 4 p.m. every weekday. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And the final yesterday, in case you were living in, I don't know, do we have caves here in the city? It was Colts 27, Steelers 24. And what are you going to do? They made a bunch of mistakes. They did a lot of stupid things that, to me, I was having a conversation about this yesterday in Indianapolis with Dante Jackson. To me, a lot of the stuff that went wrong, to be honest with you, just to be totally honest, was not the kind of thing you're going to see on a regular basis. You can go ahead and roll your eyes at me or, I don't know, accuse me of trying to put a positive spin on it, but I'm just sharing with you. I don't see this team as being one that's going to have problems like, oh no, TJ Watt didn't have much of a pass rush. That's just a weird game. Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to go how many games in a row without an interception or a pass defense? Yeah, they're staying away from him and everything, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to come around at some point. It's just too good of a football player. Joey Porter Jr. dropping 2 picks. I mean, I know he's not the greatest when it comes to interceptions, and that goes back to his career at Penn State, but he's going to come up with them. So I tend to look at these things from the standpoint of what does it mean to the team on a longer-term basis? Aside from the outcome, yeah, they could have been 4-0 and the Cowboys are coming here. It could have been 5-0, whatever. But as it is, 3-1, you got your quarterback playing better week after week after week, and he is. And if you're talking about Justin Fields, you are talking about the wrong thing. You've got a pretty good overall group that's shown for the better part of 4 games what they're capable of doing. And realistically, they still had a chance to win that game despite making probably about a dozen significant errors over the course of those 3 hours, which probably tells you something about the Colts too. But here we are facing really one serious issue, and it's not the sexiest issue. It's not the one that gets people to go, "Ooh, I got to hit play on this program. I got to find out what this guy has to say about the offensive line." But here we are. We've been talking about the line now for, it seems like, 3 years, right? Ever since Marquise Pouncey retired. And we're still talking about them. And today we're going to do it some more because James Daniels is lost for the season. Torn Achilles. Now, I saw him yesterday walking out of the locker room in Indianapolis with a boot on, and I'm thinking, maybe it's just an ankle. You never know. Achilles. That's it. He's out. So your line is now, roll with me here, okay? Left to right. Left is Dan Moore. Remember when he seemed disposable? Not so much anymore. Isaac Seumalo, who's back and is now the only, I can't call him the only veteran because Moore has been around for 3 years too. So you have Moore and Seumalo. You have Zach Frazier, who carries himself like a veteran, even though he's only been in the league for 4 years. 4 games. Freudian slip. And then you have at right tackle, obviously, Broderick Jones, who didn't have his best game, but also wasn't as bad as I think some are going to make it out to be, because he's going to become an easy target for criticism, and flipping out on people on social media the way he did yesterday isn't going to help his cause. Don't know what he was thinking there. And then you have the right guard spot. You have Daniel's spot, the one spot that you were probably 100% on going into the season. And let's not forget that Daniels was the Steelers' highest graded player at any position through 3 games. I'm going to repeat that for you. Any position, either side of the ball, Daniels was the highest graded player. So don't try to underplay this either. You're probably looking at Mason McCormick or Spencer Anderson, or who knows if Omar Khan says, wow, this is just a massive loss. I'm going to have to go out and get some additional help as opposed to just depth help. But I would think out of this group that it's going to be Anderson. I don't know that, but I think that. Here's what Anderson himself had to say on the subject today on the South Side after the Steelers came back.
Spencer, is it difficult to try to navigate something like this, when you guys are having injury after injury, or are you guys just learning to get comfortable?
No, you kind of just got to own up to it. Like I said, injuries are part of this business, and football is a game of attrition, and whoever's the healthiest is going to go out there and produce. So you kind of just got to look at it not as adversity, but as an opportunity, and you have to capitalize on every opportunity you get.
He's got a great level head on him, that kid does. Had a talk with him yesterday in Indy after the game, and I asked him, and sometimes I'll do this with younger players just to poke to see if they're going to come up with some kind of accountability. I asked him about the penalty that he took. Do you remember it? When he came in late, he and Jones both came in late, knocked some dude over. It was after the whistle. And I asked him, what happened there? And he said, I made a mistake. The referee told me that I can't come in there once there's already a pile and hit on top of the pile. I'll learn from it. I like that. Give me more of that and less of, Najee Harris. That doesn't mean he's going to be a great guard. That doesn't mean he's going to be Daniels. Let me tell you what all of this means, okay? This is a big deal for this team. They have to be able to run. They have to be able to protect. And they probably have to do it with these guys, 3 of whom are really young. One of whom is Dan. He's kind of in the middle, and only one out of the entire pack who's a veteran. They got to come together. And I know that there are football fans who get tired of hearing about chemistry and camaraderie as it concerns the line. It's real. The people who are living it, who have lived it, will attest that it's real. They need to come together in a big hurry. The onus is on them. The onus is on Pat Meyer. The onus, to an extent, is on Arthur Smith. Can he go away a little bit from all those first down runs? 62% at this point, one of the highest rates in the NFL, as well as the worst success rate on the ground in the NFL. Smith's got to be a part of this as well. But more than anything, man, it's up to these 5 dudes. It really is. When we come back, Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joining me now from the Steelers headquarters on the South Side, we're both back from Indianapolis, is Chris Halleck. And why don't you tell everybody where you are, Chris?
I am inside the media room here on the South Side just because it's raining outside. So trying to do this outside and, with the lantern flies flying all around me is just not in the cards today.
That room is the epitome of luxury for media working conditions, by the way. It used to be like an old racquetball court or something like that the Steelers had in there for some reason. And then in COVID times, they changed it to a media area. Unless I'm getting that wrong, right? It was racquetball.
I believe so.
I
think Bill Cowers actually played in here quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken.
You learn something every time you watch Double Shot. We're going to try to figure out today what exactly or even generally went wrong with the defense, because, Chris, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that it generally went wrong. There wasn't one area necessarily that stunk. It was just below the line from front to back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the lack of not being able to get to the quarterback. It was the Swiss cheese holes in coverage that Shane Steichen knows how to attack. For those who don't know, Shane Steichen used to be offensive coordinator of the Eagles. And if you remember that game in 2022, the Eagles tore apart the Steelers' defense. And if you remember the game last year, after Shane Steichen becomes the head coach of the Colts.
Blistered them. Yes.
So this is 3 straight years that Shane Steichen has absolutely put up points and yards on this defense.
I'm so glad you started with him, Chris, because as we're sitting in the press box next to each other, we're watching this. The first stuff that we were talking about in the first quarter was what? It was the game plan. It was the Indianapolis game plan. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
As one player told me in the Steelers side, they get paid too. It was Calvin Austin. They get paid too. And he's right. So you give them credit for what it was that they did. Now, we're going to take that credit. We're going to shove it off to the side. I had 2 big issues with the defense yesterday. One of them was on the field. I think you've got to get more of a pass rush with your 6 guys, with your 6 base guys or 5 base guys, whatever it is that you go with up front. And that's what the Steelers had pretty much. They weren't going with, some crazy sub packages, 2 down linemen or anything. TJ Watt still has to get back there. I saw them chipping him. I get it. Nick Herbig has to get back there, especially if that's the side that they're going to be running on, because they're trying to expose you for not being able to seal the edge. So nobody did. Nobody got back there. My second problem is that once you see that they're not getting back there and you see Anthony Richardson come out of the game and Joe Flacco comes in, send the bleeping house. Am I right?
No, I do agree with that 100%. I mean, Joe Flacco can't move.
No.
It's the antithesis of Anthony Richardson back there.
Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely. You do have to kind of – there were instances on both sides of the ball yesterday in which they just needed to completely toss away the game plan. And
Pittsburgh.
allowing – yes, the Steelers. They needed to – once Flacco became – I was like, it's apparent, okay, he's the quarterback – you got to start sending these exotic blitzes that they do have that we really haven't seen so far this year. And granted, they haven't had to for the first 3 weeks. I mean, they were getting to the quarterback while blitzing 18% of the time. That was not the case yesterday. Colts have a really good offensive line. Their pass protection was really good, but you do have to find a way because Shane Steichen knows how to attack the holes in a cover 3 defense. He's proven it already. And so shame on Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin for not adjusting because, like you said, they're not getting there.
No.
So they're not getting there. You're just going to allow him to keep attacking those holes.
And you were in the room with Tomlin. I went to the players' room. You went in with the head coach. And I didn't hear this until a lot later, but I couldn't believe that he pretty much acknowledged that. He said it took too long. He said it took us too long to adjust. That they had game planned for Richardson and hadn't. It's like, I'm glad he acknowledged that. That's a rarity for him. But nonetheless, it's a big screw up. Now, as you and I are watching that game, we're also talking about coverage. I'm going to have to share this with everybody, but Chris has this funny thing when the games are going on. When somebody's open and the other team completes a pass, Chris does this, wide open. He just says it like that. He just goes, wide open. Wide open. So I was hearing a lot of wide opens from Chris. And I mentioned the pass rush, and he comes back with that player in that situation can't be left that uncovered. Now, is it Beanie Bishop? Is it the inside linebackers? Is it the safeties? Because we saw, like you said, Shane Steichen was attacking the soft underbelly of the defense.
Yeah, it was a combination of everybody, really. But more on Beanie Bishop and the inside linebackers. Patrick Queen did not have a good day. Peyton Wilson, in coverage at least, did not have a good day. Beanie Bishop had a busted coverage assignment on the last touchdown the Colts scored. He thought it was man, so he went with his guy. By doing so, he leaves his zone window wide open. I mean, literally as wide open as it can get. Which is why, by the time he catches it, there's nobody there because Bishop's supposed to stay. And so it's already bad enough whenever you're getting carved and then you bust an assignment there. It just makes it look even worse. And so, but definitely Beanie Bishop and specifically Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson, it was not a good day for those guys. Part of it was Shane Steichen knowing how to manipulate, moving guys in motion, and having kind of messing with Peyton Wilson's head. I mean, you could kind of see he's just there were times in which he looked overwhelmed in coverage,
He's
and he's a rookie.
He's going to have more of his welcome to the NFL moments, regardless of his raw athleticism and all the things that had us marveling about him in training camp in the preseason. This is different. This is guys are moving you where they want to move you. Okay, when you're playing against a chess master like Steichen, that's what you're getting. I don't want him here, so I'm going to find a way to push him there by sending this guy. And then when you go, all your athleticism and everything else, your high jumps and all the stuff you do at the combine doesn't mean a thing because you're going in the wrong direction.
Yep. Yeah, it was a combination of Steichen knowing how to attack the defense, but it was also there are just certain responsibilities that players have to know, and it was just bad on all fronts. They just got carved up.
Yeah,
it's one of those situations where you got to tip your cap, but at the same time you got to be able to adjust, and players have to find ways in order to make plays, and so it was bad all around. They got outcoached on that side of the ball, and
They have to adjust. The Steelers have to adjust because now that baby's on film and it's there for everybody to utilize the rest of the way. When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Today's J1Q, that stands for just one question if you're new around here, comes from Matt right here in the city.
Hey, what's up, DK? My name's Matt. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Basically, my question was about Najee Harris. I know this past game, he had a pretty rough performance, averaging about 1.5 yards per carry. I know there was a similar dynamic where James Conner was performing well when Le'Veon Bell was the primary running back, and I know a lot of people have that same thought about Jaylen Warren and Cordero Patterson with a good game. So I just wasn't sure if that was something that Najee's doing wrong or if it's just defensive scheming for him. Thanks.
Man, I don't even know where to start with Naj. I think the first thing that has to happen is that he has to come to grips with the fact that he's not running well. He comes up with all kinds of excuses. I asked him yesterday in Indianapolis, about first down issues, and he just starts blaming everybody else. Did you see how many guys they had in the box? We didn't have hands on everybody that we should have put hands on. That was a shot at his offensive lineman. Somebody else asked about Justin Fields. And in a positive vein, like how do you feel about the way Fields rallied you? It's not him. It's all of us. No, actually, Naj, you were the one who ran 13 times for 19 yards. That was you. And you're the one who needs to be a lot better, independent of what you're talking about, Matt. And that's playing off somebody. Now, it can help. Look, Le'Veon Bell was a terrific running back in his own right. Probably, I think, could have been a Hall of Fame type if he'd hung around and not messed with his own career. But when D'Angelo Williams showed up and you had Lev doing one thing at one pace, D'Angelo would come in like every third series, if you'll recall. He was a slashing type runner. He would find the diagonal routes and blow through them. Totally different. And it worked for both of them. They all talked about that. Everybody on that offense talked about that. Yes, there's a little bit of a dynamic there between Naj and Jalen, but Jalen's the better back. Naj is more durable. That's why we're still talking about Naj and we're not talking about Jalen. Jalen's the better overall back. All you have to say, Matt, about Naj's performance yesterday is that he was doing stuff behind the same line against the same defenses, against the same schemes as Cordero Patterson. Difference? Cordero ran. He found holes and he hit them hard. He hit them like he meant it. He didn't approach them and then see something he didn't like, and then actually you'll see Nudge do this occasionally. He'll brace himself with his foot like to stop, to come to a complete stop. I don't think that getting another running back is necessarily the answer, pending the health of both Warren and Patterson. But I do think that getting a whole lot more out of the guy who's supposed to be your headliner, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I appreciate the question, Matt. I appreciate everybody watching Double Shot. We're going to be back with another one of these tomorrow at 4 p.m.